Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for being here tonight for this very exciting program on removal of the dams for the from the Fox River. Friends of the Fox River has been advocating for river restoration for over 30 years, and tonight we're very lucky to have Gary Swick and Art Malm from the Friends of the Fox River to discuss the natural history of the river, as well as the water and habitat quality created by the dams and the common concerns that come along with that, as well as the Army Corps' dam removal plans. They're going to give us a quick update on that. Art is a retired registered professional engineer and a graduate of Cornell University's College of Civil and Environmental Engineering. He has made his living in the public and private sector experience, including design, construction, and operation of municipal and industrial water and water pollution control infrastructure. Since retiring, Art has spent 6 years as a trustee for the Fox River Water Reclamation District, and he is currently serving on the board of Friends of the Fox River and the Fox River Study Group. We also have Gary Swick, who's been an environmental educator for his entire life, and he has been with the Friends of the Fox River for over 30 years and has been a consistent advocate for river restoration through dam removal the entire time that he's been with them. So we're very lucky to have both of them to tell us a little bit more about this exciting project that's happening in. And I do want to point out before they start, I'm sure they'll mention it, but the dams that we are discussing removal of are not here in McHenry County. So there are 2 dams here in McHenry County, and those are not the ones that we're discussing today. So,
right. We're not taking your guns. We're not taking your gas stove, and we are not taking your dams. So don't worry. Safe. All right.
Where's the mic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, boss, go get them. All right. All right. No, I'm. Is that close enough?
Yeah, that's good.
All right.
And then
I am the head cheerleader for. Can we get that off? No.
Got it. You got it?
That's okay. All right. So I'm the head cheerleader for Friends of the Fox River. And one thing I'm dedicating myself to this year is friend raising. And so I'm hoping that you will help me with that here tonight. And so I just want to get a photo with my friends doing a friend raising. So if you will, here's the 2024.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. And the next step is to go to our website, FOTFR.org, and click on Be a Friend and follow the instructions. Thank you. All right. So next, Art, please.
I'm trying.
Or someone.
I'm trying to get there.
Forget it.
All right. I have it memorized. All right. Well, we're here.
Oh, yeah. Less percent of water where animals and humans use.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
Is that a
We could do
surprise?
this a couple more times tonight.
Water is frozen and frozen. That uses less percent of water for animals and humans to use.
Cortisol oxygen levels are important because some of the BMIs require them, and if there isn't enough, or if they aren't high enough, then it would reduce biodiversity. There's too much of these compounds leads to too much algae growth, and algae changes the habitat and reduces the amount of oxygen in the water when it dies and is broken down by bacteria.
All right, thank you. I'm an educator, arts and engineer, and so we have a little yin yang kind of in our presentation. I didn't know that was an animated slide, but that's what we do. So you can see what it is, and this is why we do it. So we connect people to the river any way we can, and so that they will care about it and love it and want to protect it. And been wrestling with dam removal as a very contentious issue for 30 years. But one thing we learned this year in the public in hearings and public comment period, whether you want dams out or not, people love the Fox River. So there's all kinds of different perspectives, and it's a multi-use river. Can we go to the next one? And yeah, there's lots of rivers, but my job here is to help you appreciate how special the Fox River is. So it's relatively a very young river as rivers go, and that's because we had this very recent glaciation, and glacial movement is kind of like building a snow person. So you gather it up and it grows and it gets bigger and it picks stuff up along the way, and then it goes to another place, and then when it melts, these things fall down. And so that's how this landscape was created. It's pretty you can visualize maybe easily that running water can carve out a river valley, but we have an incredible diversity of different geologic formations. Art, can you move just to your right a little bit? Thank you. And some of these are very pretty unique to northeastern Illinois. Okay, next one. All right, so that's the Fox River. We don't see much of that kind of character in the Fox River in our neighborhood right here. But where Illinois sits is in a convergence of a lot of different biomes, and biomes are a large geographic area with common climatic conditions like amount of moisture, temperature, etc. So up here is the northern coniferous forest, and we have some coniferous stands. Over here, if I'm getting that right, is the tall grass prairie, the prairie coming in and gets taller and taller as it gets to us. And then over from the east comes the deciduous forest. We got some deserts coming in from down here. And because all that converged, we have, in addition to all these unique landforms, we have over 90 different habitat types in Illinois. Okay, next one. And if you build it, yeah, nice. Thanks for that help. All right. So yeah, sometimes we just like categorize it as we have prairie forests and wetlands, but you guys know there's a lot of different kinds of each of these. What these percentages represent are the percent that's of all of them that are in the Fox River watershed relative to Illinois. So we have most in a lot of cases. So you can see it right here. So that's pretty stinking special, right? Right. So, okay, next slide. So, you know, even though we're lacking mountains, we got pretty much everything else. And so if you build it, they will come. So we have a great diversity, over 50,000 kinds of plants and animals. And our watershed is especially rich. And even though much of it is degraded, we still have a couple. The highest designation of a stream is biologically significant. All right, next. Yeah, the elusive. That's what we're looking for. They're finding it in Wisconsin. That's a whole nother story. All right, next slide. So, for the 10,000 years that humans have been here, at least in my romantic mind, it's been very harmonious. Yeah, they had to live off the land. And so they built cultures where they understood the land, they respected the land. You know what I'm talking about when I say land, right? All you Leopold people, right? Okay, so so it was thousands and thousands of years of coexisting, and it was incredibly rich. And not in the Fox watershed, but Cahokia Mounds was this huge population because the Illinois River Valley had so many great resources. So then people came and settled, and that's when the whole thing changed. And so that's when you start pooping in your nest and, etc. Like no one does that but humans, right? So, okay, so anyway, we settled here, and we instead of going around to get our resources, it all had to be right here. And so we brought things in, and we required machinery to make stuff, and that's what brought people here, and that gave jobs, etc. So many towns, what drew people there was that they dammed up the river to harness the energy to turn things, and whether that was a belt or a stone wheel or a saw blade, it was progress at that time. And it's a very important part of our culture. And when we were doing this road show, we always tried to get a local historian to share where the mill was, or the brewery, or the wool making plant, etc. But those dams no longer serve their purpose. And now they have created for a long time a big mess. So the Fox came up in a discussion a little earlier. A lot of people, I do, give him credit for a significant change in the momentum. And what he was about was educating people, making them aware of what's happening to their river and their streams, and empowering them. He did his acts of mischief always with getting media attention so the public would know what's going on. And we take care of our place and stuff that we love. And so I don't go as far as some people do, giving them credit for federal legislation, but this was huge. And this was the feds coming in and wanting to make all waters drinkable, swimmable, and we're not quite there yet, but it was subsidized by the government, and that was a huge change. And what we're really excited about is this next wave of federal support to make a change, maybe as significant as this, at least when you look at it as a habitat. So a couple groups got together in 1999, and we knew that American Rivers, it's a national umbrella organization, did this public relations stunt called the 10 Most Endangered Rivers in America. And so we applied to be one, and we won. Well, we won 7th, but it doesn't matter if you're 10th or 1st, it gets you on the national news. And so that was really significant. On the local level, it was a disaster, because what I heard people like, oh, I knew it's a skanky river, who cares about that? But on the national level, this is at least my rendition, the US EPA took note of that and asked the Illinois EPA, wait, what's up with that? You only have 3 little sections, it's 200 miles in Illinois, 180 mile length of river, only 3 segments do you have as an impaired water? And we can go into that definition later. Just think about it like being an endangered species. You're really great, we want to keep you, and now we got to make a plan to keep you. So the Illinois EPA reevaluated things and like, oh yeah, I think we'll make the whole main stem that. And normally what they do is they slap the law down, a nutrient limit, a TDML, and the folks in our watershed said, can we try something different? Can we try to figure out the best thing that will work? And so that was the birth of the Fox River Study Group. And so that put stakeholders together, nonprofits and municipalities, to try and figure out what can we do to address these impairments, low dissolved oxygen, nutrients, nuisance algae, etc. And so that plan's been going on. In 2015, the plan called for phosphorus removal at wastewater treatment plants, $150 million investment. It's having an impact, but nothing else is going to have an impact like dam removal. And so the study group in 2022 called for dam removal, and I don't know, it's just like the cavalry coming to town, like to save us. The Army Corps comes in, they complete this long drawn out study. We're learning how slow they go, but at any rate, so boom, in September, press release comes out. We got to go through all the motions, public hearings, comment period, etc. But Art will tell you the story. Like, we have federal funding now, and when we say free the Fox River, it's free. You know, to me, it's like disaster relief. You got this problem, the federal government comes in and gives you bottled water and cuts, you know, trees that are down and, you know, helps you out. And so we have disaster relief. So for me, you maybe can see the hair standing up. I'm so stinking excited that this is going to happen. So that's it. I hope you're warmed up. I'm going to give it over to Art. Oh, wait, I'm not done. One more. I forgot.
One more slide?
Yeah, one more slide. All right, so that's a former student of mine, and he likes posting his pictures.
36-pound crappie. No, just
That's in Dundee. So we have a Illinois state fisheries biologist, Steve Pescatelli, and he had a great line. It was t-shirt worthy, and it was fish don't lie. And if they're living there, it's a healthy river. And this river is about as abundant of a fishery as you could get in the free flowing sections. But what you'll learn, it's very consistent. When a dam comes out, abundance and diversity increases within the first year. So it's great. Thanks.
Okay, we're going to try to make a transition here. And I'm not quite sure how to do this, but we will do our best.
Yeah.
Is that right? Happy New Year? Oh, okay.
It's shared, but it's still the other one. You have one to share and the other one.
Okay. Screen sharing controls.
You see at the top where it says stop share?
I see end slideshow.
Ready. Yes,
I don't want to.
No, you're leaving the meeting. Go to the other screen you were on. Go to this one.
Which one?
This one, and unshare. And Zoom.
Anybody have a question while we're waiting? Go ahead. They get it. I'll give you my
End slideshow.
No, it's not like Wile E. Coyote.
Okay.
No, they chip away, and it takes about a month to chip away, draw it down.
Let me start. Okay.
Build walls.
Let me start this presentation.
Is that adequate?
And
Got another? Yeah, well, they contract out with somebody, but they're gonna handle everything, engineering,
Go to this one.
land, transaction. In the 90s, the proposing, they all, the Illinois DM owns half of those
They're not
dams.
there.
So that makes it easy too, because they're in, the feds earn it for 65% and states are. Because better than.
It's one of those two screens.
Go ahead.
screen two.
McHenry's coming in, right?
Right.
Is there any thought in the future or why not?
McHenry County, at least they're talking about and the Stratton Dam. So they have significance for the recreational community, and the Stratton Dam does control flooding up there. So I don't think they're gonna be messed with. They're going with dams that have no purpose and big negative impact. The chain of lakes basically is a floating wetland. It's not a river. If you look on the map, it's a wetland. Right. So not yet.
They're not looking at it.
No.
Are they looking at Kane County?
9 dams in Kane County, and Algonquin was the first one, but that would have the biggest impact, I think they said, but they're not. They took it off their recommendation. So Carpentersville is.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're going. Good. So Happy New Year, everybody. The most consequential work in decades restoring the health and safety of our Fox River is going to be done this year. That will be supporting the effort to remove the 9 dams on the Central Fox River Valley, in the Central Fox River Valley. The value of setting our fox free is no longer a challenge of logic or economics or biology or engineering. The challenge is buried in the charts and the graphs of the scientists that support the dam removal and providing an effective message, an effective communication of that math, of that science and of those charts. Basically, support in 2024 for the Fox River means effective messaging and communications, turning numbers into imagination. We need to turn numbers into imagination. A new friend of mine last week and I shared a holiday dinner table. And he said, if that St. Charles Dam comes out, I'm leaving. He was going to leave immediately. He was going to move. Really smart guy, real interesting guy, beautiful home, so forth. He's going to leave. He said, give me one reason to take the dam out. And I sat there uncomfortably for I don't know how many seconds. One reason? Yeah, one reason. So my 90-minute presentation on all the reasons to remove, I'm an engineer. Okay, so my 90-minute already abbreviated presentation, taking that down to 45 minutes is tough. Gary says I got to do presentation in 10 minutes tonight. Everything went out the window. But one reason. So, inspired by him, my new friend, from across the table, it's taken me a little while, but I've gotten my presentation down to 10 seconds. But I could only get it to 3 reasons. Dam removal. It's good for the river and the river's wildlife. It's a gift for generations to come, and it's free. And it's free. We can try to share a vision of our fox running free with, based on science, not magic. Visionary, yes. Expansion, it certainly has to be. It's got to be achievable. One of the earliest entrepreneurs in the Fox River Valley, James Gifford, in 1835, writes to his wife, the Fox is the finest stream I've ever seen. Its water's pure, supplied with fine fish. Gifford had a vision. He saw an opportunity at hand. He and others in the Central Fox River Valley took that opportunity and built dams up and down the river. hydropower was the only power greater and more economic than the horses, and you didn't have to feed the dams.
Yeah.
So our opportunity at hand is to provide an objective vision of the Fox running free for our leaders throughout the valley so they can help imagine the future. Removing the 9 river dams on the central Fox River Valley will be a great stride in a centuries-old project of restoring our fox. This will be the rebirth of our river. That sounds pretty dramatic, but it really is. Dam removal is good for the river and its wildlife, and it's a gift for generations to come. But we need to say a little more than that. I mean, that's pretty, that's as much as I could distill it. But we need to say a little more and extend our audience. So I sent this to this beta to Swick. We'll see if we can get it to play. So it's a beta, and it's 45 seconds, which is longer than 10 seconds. But it's the first thing I've ever gone ahead and put into portrait for playing on a slide film, and I didn't do it. That guy back there, Bob Sutton, friend of the Fox River, who's helped us out with it. So Gary comes back and he demands more charts and graphs. No, really, he didn't. But he did mention there weren't anything. There weren't any. So this wasn't going to be a juried academic submission. And but there is objective scientific support behind every one of those statements and in one of those claims. But not to disappoint Swick, for example. How does the river breathe better? What's that about? Well, a river in its natural state is an ecosystem which requires oxygen to thrive. And the water of a clean flowing river is the breath of that river, and it's the breath of the bottom of that river. So in 2020, the Fox River Study Group did a series of pre-dam removal water quality studies at Carpentersville in preparation for the Carpentersville Dam to be removed. And one of those studies generated data on the oxygen production and uptake of the water column above the base or above the sediments of the dam. So let me go back to this just for a second. I'm supposed to explain what this is. So what they did is they took 2 big vessels and put dissolved oxygen meters in them. Both vessels had open bottoms. One was painted black, one was clear. And they put them both down, fill them with water, both put them down on the river bottom. And monitor it for 24 hours. Come on, let's keep going. Okay, here's what happened. The clear bottle, their dissolved oxygen concentrations are shown in green. This is dissolved oxygen, what we all need to breathe, what a healthy ecosystem needs to breathe. This is time, beginning roughly at about noon and ending up at noon. The clear bottle and the black bottle, what's the difference? Well, the clear bottle kept its oxygen concentrations up until probably 6 or 8 o'clock at night when they fell off. What happened? Yeah, it was a bright sunny day and photosynthesis stopped. The black bottle, DO started here, and within 12 hours, it was gone. So in doing graphs, the trend is your friend. But in this case, it's unfriendly to the Fox River. This drop in oxygen demand, this deoxygenation rate, as we engineers would call it, is 10 times the rate of deoxygenation of the water column itself, all the pollution and the bacteria and the algae and all of that. You know, the deoxygenation caused by the sludge, the detritus on the bottom, was 10 times anything that was seen in the water column. And so, what's it tell us? Well, at the bottom below these beds of detritus, which is a buildup of old leaves and sticks and sediment and dead algae and dead vascular aquatic plants, it forms a black blanket, sucks the oxygen out of the bottom. And down in the bottom of our clean natural Fox are a lot of macroinvertebrates in the stones and the sands and the rocks. And they need that oxygen. What happens when the macroinvertebrates, the fish food, the bottom of the fish, or the bottom of the food chain, what happens when they can't breathe? They die. No macroinvertebrates, which are the fish food, no fish, no fish, no fishermen. So, dam-induced detritus clogging the river's lungs is kind of aquatic pneumonia. So that's the way to think of this. You know, these big pads of sediment, a lot of organic materials build up behind the dams. It's aquatic pneumonia. You know, the base of the food chain, the macroinvertebrates, don't get the oxygen to feed the little fish, to feed the big fish, to draw the fishermen, and makes it such a great river, or it gives it such potential in the areas where the dam is going to be removed. Okay, dam removal. Help me.
Good for the river's wildlife.
Good for the rivers and rivers wildlife, future generations, and oh yeah, you had it fine. Okay, you know, the next time. So it's time for some updates. And look ahead. So the elephant has already left the room. For those who didn't know, the Army Corps does not propose to take out either the McHenry Dam or the Algonquin Dam. While the Corps found the Algonquin Dam removal would have the greatest ecological return of any of the dams in the Central Fox, it was simply a bridge too far. I'm not sure that that's mixing a metaphor, but we'll. Okay. So here's the current schedule provided by the Corps. Key dates, 11/6, the 30-day or 60-day public comment period was closed. By the end of December, they were going to develop responses and distribute an FAQ and post it on their project website in response to all the questions that they got, and questions and comments that they got during the public meetings and other means. It's January 3rd, and we've yet to see it, but that's okay. it's kind of a big deal that they get it right. So they're going to come out with a recommended plan. Their vertical team is being reviewed it, and they're going to move from the tentatively selected plan, which has all 9 dams out, to the recommended plan. The Carpentersville Dam, hopefully, here at the top, is coming out this year. But a friend of mine asked, well, what's happening with the Carpentersville Dam removal? And I said, well, my best information is that nobody knows what's happening. And, you know, it's kind of out there, and I think that it needs a public champion. You know, it's the first of a generation. It's somewhat controversial. People are not inclined to touch it so much. It needs a champion to push it through, but we've got good confidence it's coming out spring of this next year. In second quarter 2025, well, I get back. Second quarter 2024, municipalities are going to be asked to provide an indication if they want their dam out or if they don't. Non-binding. They put their name, put their names on the line a year later. Fourth quarter, first quarter, second quarter in 2025. That's when the rubber hits the road. Importantly, as Gary was saying, this is a 65%, 35% federal local program. So Corps coming up with 65% of, for the funds for design and construction for anybody who wants their dam taken out. IDNR owns more than half of these dams. And they're saying 2 things, and they're both very important. Number one, if your community decides it wants to keep its dam, the dam that we, the IDNR, I'm not an IDNR guy, but the dam that IDNR owns, they can do so, but they're going to have to take full ownership, full responsibility, full liability, maintain it in perpetuity until it's removed. Number 2, at the current time, the state's got sufficient funds available where they've said that if a community owns a dam, like Elgin being one, Aurora owning a half a dam, if they want their dam out, the Illinois EPA will pay their share to take it out. So when we say it's free, full dam removal is free for all 9 of these dams in central Fox River Valley. What have I forgotten to say? Yeah, that was good enough. So all the dams in this proposal, as has been mentioned, proposed for removal are in Kane County. And the limit that McHenry County will have is that they'll have, the benefit that they'll have is that they'll be able to go to a place on a clean river to kayak and fish and bird watch, when the lakes get just too crazy. So it's going to be a different environment, and we look to attract some of those folks, from Lake County as you guys, take us for your recreation. So, and both, both water sport types, are complementary. People want to go and for some nice boating, go up to the chain. But if you want great fishing, we're going to have about the best smallmouth bass fishery in the United States, with all sorts of new opportunities for fly fishing, which we don't have right now. Because as that river flows and ebbs, as it widens and narrows, there's room to access for fly fishing. Okay, so other dam removal messages and communications that we can work together, my focus is trying to convince everybody we need to remove all of the impairments on the Fox River, the Fox River Valley. We should all support algae control on the Fox Chain of Lakes, because algae levels, including blue-greens, in the river south of McHenry, from McHenry south to Ottawa, are highly dependent upon the algae concentrations north of McHenry. We've done a lot of modeling, the Fox River Study Group, and that's one of the conclusions. What's happening up here in the chain has significant implications down in Ottawa. So that's one thing. The magnitude of the silt load coming through the chain and into the Central Fox and its tributaries needs to be quantified. We need to know how much is there to know what to do about it. That's just basic engineering, that's just how you handle a problem.
We will have that information on February 1st, 2020.
That will be terrific, and I will look closely at it. So we need to simplify permitting and expand tributary dam removal programs, because one of the great advantages of removing the dams is connectivity, allowing the fish to get upstream into their natural spawning tributaries and habitat. So removing the main stem dams, that's a big damn job. This is a big thing. But also going after those tributaries, that's an important next stop. I mean, there's a tributary by my home that the homeowners association wants it out. It makes all the sense in the world to take it out. With $1,500 worth of backhoe time, we could take it out. But just the engineering and the permitting costs $75,000. Doesn't make any. We need to improve the permitting process and get dam removal from the tributaries going. That requires approval of the dam owners, the property owners. But a lot of cases, they want to say, we don't want it, take it out. It's a matter of, let's cut the cost, expand the program. That's something that we can work on. We would do well to study and understand the natural sources of phosphorus in the Fox. So there's a lot of phosphorus that comes in from the dissolved limestone bedrock. We need to quantify that and compare that to the amount that we think is coming in from the sewage plants and from the agricultural communities, because we're getting down close now with $150 million that Gary was talking about, that we spent 175 that's been spent in the past 5 years to pull phosphorus out at a rate of about 75 to 90% from our wastewater treatment plants. That's great, that's important, but now we're down to levels which are awfully close to background levels, and we need to understand what that background level is. That might take some years, but there's some theories out there to work with. There was one more. I guess I missed it. Oh, there you go. Let me turn around and see what my slide says. So revisit PCB levels. Okay, so since the 1970s, and I could put up a graph, but I won't for Gary's sake. Since the 1970s, PCB levels have dropped precipitously in the flesh of our Fox River's fish. Other important pollutants of concern also. They remain on the list of impairments from the IEPA. And we need to have the EPA find the time to go reevaluate that, because this will be a great river, especially if we can get most or all the impairments, pulled out of it. Okay, mixing dam removal conversations with politics, and religion. So we're in a bar, and I'm not speaking on behalf of any government, any clerical organization, any 501c3, including Friends of the Fox River or the Fox River Study Group, or for the matter, Boy Scouts of America. But I think that these are two important points. To those of faith, faith is a powerful motivating tool for good in our world. And when we look to the Old Testament, we see the responsibility that we're given to protect God's creation. The Boy Scouts of America say it in their manual, leave no trace. We no longer need the dams to grind the grain to feed his people. We no longer need the dams to provide the sawmill power to cut lumber, to cut timber, to house his people, and give them shelter. It's time to return the river to him. And, you know, we can do a lot of engineering, you know, we can do a lot of science, but that's not the way we all think. And this is an important, you know, part of 2024. We've got to get our message out. And the Bible's pretty clear about it, and people of faith should be pretty clear about it. And politics. Okay, so Republicans, Democrats, and Independents all agree in approximately the same numbers. The Fox River is valuable as an asset, and more should be done to protect it. Nonetheless, the Army Corps has not yet funded any of our deconstruction projects. And Donald Trump has promised retribution for his opponents. There's little doubt that this includes Blue Illinois and its elected leaders, and we should not expect any new dam removal money through the Army Corps following a Trump election. So we should try to nail down core funding for this work, showing wide Valley support in 2024 to nail down that funding in 2025. And we should also go up to Wisconsin and help them elect Democrats, but that's something else. I'm out of time. Show your approval for dam removal by taking one of those glue-free decals on your way out and applying it to any, those guys. Any window, you can apply it to any window outside of these premises. You can take 3 if you remember what. Dam removal is good for the river and its wildlife. It's a gift for future generations, and it's free. Thank you.
Could I do just a quick photo survey? Will you please raise your hand if you favor removing 9 dams as described? All right, thank you.
Tough group.
Yeah, we got time for 2 questions.
Time for 2 questions.
Question back here. Pat? I went to high school in Waukesha, Wisconsin, so I've been excited about it.
You need to speak louder, Pat, because nobody can hear you on Zoom.
I went to high school in Waukesha, Wisconsin, which is near the headwaters of the Fox, and so I've been a friend of the Fox for most of my life. And I went to the open question thing in Elgin and was very surprised at so much pushback. And the question that I still have after listening to all of them was, for all the people that live on the Fox and it's their backyard, so when you remove the dams, the water level should be more variable, maybe not always down, maybe up, but at least variable. And aren't there a lot of heavy metals there, either from manufacturing or from gas, the lead and gas that was in there for 100 years? What's going to happen to that?
So, yeah, so really good question. I was privileged to be able to speak for the study group, or on behalf of the study group during the public presentations. One thing which was infuriating me about the presentation is they had all these questions, but the Army Corps' program, their format was not to answer anything. And they didn't, and these questions sat out there, and it's low-hanging fruit, and I wanted to jump up and say, well, they studied that back in 2000. There were hundreds of samples taken upstream and downstream of all of the dams on the river, and found concentrations of heavy metals and pesticides and all of that very, very low and basically equal on both sides. So that has been found to be a non-problem. So.
Can I just throw down, because we're running out of time? Yep. You can go to the Friends of the Fox website, FOTFR.org, and click on Free the Fox, and we have frequently asked questions, which will address some of yours, but we will stay and play.
Yeah, as long as the beer doesn't run out, I'm here.
What happens to the dam?
So what happens to the dams? So the basic process is, so we got a shallow river. This is not like the Klamath, I don't know if some of you, I'm sure, have been looking at the Klamath River in the Northwest and huge dams and so forth. So these are short little guys. What they'll do is they'll come up with a backhoe with a pneumatic rock hammer, and they'll cut a notch in the dam. Maybe on some dams they'll cut two, one on each side, and slowly allow the dam pool to drain. The reason why they do that is because most of the sediments actually stored behind the dam are sands and light gravels. And so that will allow those sands and light gravels to gradually drain. River will reestablish its bed, and then that jackhammer will get going, and a couple of backhoes maybe, and they'll just bust the dam apart and haul it away. Now, what the plan is for recycling any of that material, I don't know, but there's a lot to be learned over the next couple of years.
Yeah. We just figured out fundraiser. You can own a piece of the dam.
Well, I've long thought, so Elgin's Dam was an old timber and crib dam that had a concrete face put on it. So there are some big old oak logs that are probably 12, 14, 16 inches in diameter that provide the foundation of that dam, some of which might be usable in the future. But, well, we have to worry about that a little longer. We've got to convince the public officials. We've got to turn our numbers into English, and let public officials know what a great opportunity, a generation opportunity we have. There's a question here.
Well, I was, but I'm so first of all, to the dam removal, Gary, well, you might remember, but we had that movie that showed the actual removal of a dam through FREPS. I don't know if that's available to the public, but it was a very interesting one.
After a while, we can show you a picture, or we can show you a movie of the removal of the Cuyahoga Falls Dam on the famous Cuyahoga River. The river that caught fire back in the 1960s. Rachel Carlson's Silent Spring, all that. So I've got a picture of that dam coming out. I was there a few years back, and the report is that they've taken out two dams. Now they've got they host two big kayak races a year, and the eagles and the otters have come back, and so they're happy with it. And the old powerhouse has turned into a watering hole. So
Go figure.
The only other thing I was gonna say is at some point, there was some kind of discussion about how you could alter like the Algonquin Dam to during the boating season, it stays closed. And then during the winter season, it can open up to actually have kind of a partial benefit. So maybe that's something that can be explored after this other part of the river is taken care of.
That is, you're, I think, the second person I've heard mention that right now. And it's a type of dam, which basically during the spawning season, it would open up all the way to the river bottom, allow the fish to come up and, problem with dams is really kind of simple. They block the fish going upstream and they block the sediment going downstream. So if they build one of these surge dams, there's one that exists, it's on, I think, part of the Colorado River. If they looked at doing that in Algonquin, they might be able to provide the fish going upstream, the sediment going downstream, and during boating season, have the water levels allowing you to have access up to the strat. Expensive? We're talking about removing 9 dams at a public cost of $15 million. So that's a great bargain. That kind of dam that you're talking about is more. Let's see what happens. Maybe not in our lifetime, but we clean up the lower Fox. People take a look at it and say that is really an outstanding resource. We want that same thing.
That dam you were referring to, that kind of dam that's already in existence, does it affect the habitat of the kind of dam?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, it does.
Absolutely. Yeah, it cleans out, it basically restores the habitat above and below the dam. Yet in the Algonquin case, you close it up during boating season and then have your people, run up and down. So yeah, there's, that idea is out there, and I think it's viable for Algonquin, but it's a bridge too far for 2024.
Can I have the microphone?
Oh, you bet, please.
It's right there. Okay. Thank you very much. I've got some more to add for the upper river. And we'll get to, if you have any more questions, you can stay later. I'm going to answer questions for, it's done. It's closed. It's off. Oh. We are working right now. I'm working with the Fox Waterway Agency on, we're doing the watershed plan for the lakes north to the state line. One of the reasons it's never been done is because nobody's responsible for that section. No one's responsible from McHenry, from the mouth of the lakes down to the Algonquin Dam, other than IDNR. So there's been no studies on there, just minimal studies. So we're working on the one now from south end of Pistaki Lake at the mouth of the river where it starts going south in Johnsburg, all the way to the state line. That's the report that we've got the data coming in right now. We're formulating it, have to get it to the IEPA by January 22nd. And then we're going to give a presentation on February 1st at the Fox Waterway Agent headquarters. And then it'll be a public document from that point on. And then involved in that watershed plan is the ability to say, hey, this is how much information, how much silt is coming from Wisconsin, which we have no control over, or how much phosphorus is coming or within the lake system from there. So all of that information we will have after this report is done. And from there, we're hoping to get funding also for agencies within that watershed to be able to do improvements so that when it gets to these 9 dams below, and those dams that are functioning and they just put millions and millions of dollars into the one in McHenry in the last 5 years, and then the one in Algonquin, are used for economic interests on the north end of Illinois and for recreational purposes. So there are a lot of things that will be able to get done through, hopefully through some federal funding sources to help reduce the phosphorus as it goes on down to them and improve the fisheries there, because the fisheries on the north half are also impaired very drastically. And we hope to improve it all the way along. And then Wisconsin after that is gonna work on some stuff, so it's getting there. So, okay, we have time for announcements, right? You wanna do the running around? Okay.
Nancy, don't ignore it. Surprise.